Before we get into our Week 2 NFL Power Rankings, at least entering Week 2 of the NFL season, if you want this every single week here on Chat Sports, show it by liking today's video right now. As always, we're going 32 to number 1. There might not be a change at number 1, but there is a change at the bottom. The Carolina Panthers, who were a little bit higher last week, just the one spot, they dropped down to 32. Also dropping one spot are the New York Football Giants. Neither team looked good, and not quite consistent who is dead last, but these two teams were at the bottom for everyone in the Chat Sports Consensus AP poll-style power rankings. Lots to be worried about as it relates to those teams. Some real concerns about what they're going to look like going forward. Also ranked pretty low, the Las Vegas Raiders. They blew that game. I couldn't believe they punted on that 1 4th down. That blows my mind. Could be a long season in Vegas. The Commanders at least move the ball better on offense, more so in garbage time than anything else. But at least there's some optimism around Jaden Daniels as the future. I don't know if those bottom 3 teams have that at this moment. Tennessee also sliding down one spot. They should have won that game. The Bears scored 24 points and won with 0 offensive touchdowns. Tennessee blew it. There's no way around it. Denver, number 27, they're actually down 2 spots this week. Look, not the best performance on offense. It's going to be a growing pain season for a young QB in Bo Nix. Some good things, some not so good things there in Denver in Week 1. Long season. The Patriots jump up a bunch of spots from near the bottom all the way, actually dead last, to 26. That over on the season-long wins, getting a big boost right there for the Patriots. They go to 26. They ran the ball so well with Ramondre Stevenson. Might be a Bengals September thing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. The Cardinals actually move up one spot after nearly upsetting the Buffalo Bills. This is kind of an awkward spot for a bunch of teams where the Cardinals and Patriots were not that different. The next 3 teams were all pretty tightly compacted. Teams that didn't win, but have some promise. And I think Arizona, if the defense can get figured out, has a lot of upside moving forward. The offense, I thought, played pretty well. Just got to give Marvin Harrison the ball more. That should be a key goal entering Week 2. The pinned comment on today's show is this. I want you to shout out your team and where you think they should be ranked. So, Chiefs 1, Niners 1, whatever it is. Let me know at the pinned comment here on YouTube, especially if the ad comes. Take advantage of it, ignore it, head down there, and let me know. The biggest faller this week in the Chat Sports Power Rankings, the Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk about them a little bit on today's live show. A lot of weird stuff going on with Kirk Cousins. Pistol not moving the pocket at all. Him looking very statue-esque back there, coming off the Achilles. Big-time red flag. Falcons, the offense is supposed to be fixed. It was not fixed in Week 1. They slide down significantly. The Colts moved down a little bit, not a lot. There's some 1-0 teams. They're going to jump them here. We'll get to in a moment. But I thought they were competitive against the Houston Texans. That throw by Anthony Richardson. You know what I'm talking about, Stone? Did you see this one? You were alive during Bengals. A 65 air yard throw where he can't actually step into it and uncorks a freaking bombed Alec Pierce. One of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. I think the best throw we'll see, certainly from Week 1, if not the entire year. Also just missed some easy ones. So, a lot of stuff you like, a lot of stuff you got to get figured out still, too, for Indy. I think overall, pretty promising Week 1 for a young team. The Vikings at number 22. They do jump up only 2 spots. The Giants are bad. Sam Darnold looked pretty good. All my Darnold slander might come back to bite me because Kevin O'Connell knows how to run an offense there. So Minnesota up several spots. The Bears actually dip, despite beating the Tennessee Titans. Why did they fall? They didn't actually play that well. A blocked punt touchdown, a pick 6 off Will Levis, and a fumble that led to 3 points too. That's how they won that game. They didn't move the ball. Under 150 yards of offense was not great for Chicago, but it was a win. And that helps them out as they aim to be a playoff contender this season. Today's show is made possible by Zbiotics. Sometimes during the watch parties, you guys give me a bunch of super chats, and it can be a rough next day for me. But pre-alcohol from Zbiotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep. With this technology, Zbiotics will release different products that have nothing to do with alcohol, by the way. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on screen right now and get 15% off your order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. You can sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or the occasion. And Zbiotics back with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. So remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. A big thank you to Zbiotics for sponsoring today's show and, of course, our good times. Jacksonville slides down 4 spots. They are the weirdest football team. They looked awesome in the first half and then forgot how to play football in the second half, it seemed like. One of several teams that blew big leads. They are a very frustrating watch. I feel sometimes very bad for Jags fans. A 7-spot slide here for the Cleveland Browns. I've got concerns there. I was actually not the lowest on them. A couple of our voters put them outside the top 22 altogether. Deshaun Watson looked terrible. And I know it was backup offensive tackles. He holds the ball way too long. He does not see the field well. There is a lack of confidence out there in Deshaun Watson. He invites his own pressure, and it was a negative. They ran a lot more shotgun, trying to make him more comfortable, a lot more spread. It didn't work. His contract is massive. There's another lawsuit now against him, which could potentially void some of those remaining guarantees. But if you're trying to win games right now, you got to have major doubts about Deshaun Watson. It's probably too early to pull the cord, but at some point, the Browns are going to have to take their medicine, whether it's in the offseason or in season. Should the Browns actually consider benching Deshaun Watson? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. The Saints jump up several spots, not just because they beat the Panthers, but they beat the crap out of the Panthers. By the way, do you know how rare it is for Derek Carr to be trash-talking you? He was out there just bodying J.C. Horn in trash talk. Hats off to the Saints for a very impressive performance. Chargers also up several spots as they took down the Raiders. J.K. Dobbins, welcome back. Happy to have you there, buddy. I don't know how sustainable it's really going to be in L.A. with the passing offensive woes, but I do like a lot of what I saw out of the Chargers. The Pittsburgh Steelers up several spots. We are now into the big disagreements on where teams should be ranked. Somebody, no names, had the Steelers outside the top 20, and somebody had them inside the top 10. So huge differentiation there. The average, by the way, was actually right about this. So the average voting was 16.5. So average is very valuable there. Steelers jump up a bunch of spots. Tampa jumps up several spots as well. They are narrowly behind. It's kind of a big grouping here at 15, 14, and 13, separated by really 1 or 2 spots combined even. The Bucs at 15, the sliding Bengals at 14. This just might be a team that isn't good in September. There's always a different reason. Somebody, it was Producer Stone, still had them top 10. Other people had them down. Someone had them as low as 20. Now, that may or not have been a different AFC North host, is all I'll say on that front. But the average was almost exactly 14, so it did kind of balance themselves out there. Bengals are a weird team. I think the offense will get things figured out. But they couldn't tackle last year, and they still can't tackle this year, and that run defense was a disaster class. So what is your concern level over the Cincinnati Bengals? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. I feel very smart for having the Seattle Seahawks so high last week. Last week on our power rankings, I had them higher than all but two people, and they continue to rise after they took care of business. They are 1-0. They were narrowly ahead of the Bengals and Bucks. Those three teams separated by truly one or two spots. One of the trickiest teams to figure out, although their rankings weren't that different overall. A lot of us had them at 12 actually. The Packers. And you lose week 1 against the Eagles. That's a good team. You also lost Jordan Love for a couple weeks, and that is going to be a significant red flag. The Jets, meanwhile, this is the biggest difference in some of the highs and lows voting. One voter, no names, had them at 25. One voter had them at 8. The 25 was very clearly the outlier. They were almost a consensus top 15 team, narrowly ahead there of the Packers. As I look at my notes and everything there. Up and down, they lost the Niners. It's a good Niners team. I wouldn't read too much into that. Hopefully they look a lot better in week 2, or they're going to slide. The Rams at 10. Again, they lost, but it's a different loss than the Bengals losing, than the Packers losing. Rams almost won that game despite all of the injuries. They had so many injuries in this game, and to be able to play the way that they did and have success and almost win that game, I think actually bodes well for them being a scrappy underdog this year. I will say, from a voting perspective, the top 9 were pretty clear. There's a big tier gap here between 10, the Rams, and 9, the Buffalo Bills. There's people who had them pretty high as 3. I think that's a little bit rich. That was obviously the outlier right there. Josh Allen looks awesome. He'll do the stupid Josh Allen play once a game and turn the ball over somehow, but he'll also score 4 touchdowns, so it's fine. We'll have daily NFL videos for you guys right here on the channel, so hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. The Texans, they moved to number 8, I should say. They had their work come out for them against the Colts. I was a little bit worried at times in that Texans game. The Texans and the Cowboys, by the way, quite literally, the Cowboys are number 7. 1 vote difference. That was it. Cowboys jump up several spots as they took it to the Cleveland Browns. Their offense didn't even play that great. They were actually kind of bad on offense in the second half. They were good in the first half, but that game was long over. The Dolphins also jump up several spots to number 6 after the Tyreek Hill, Calais Campbell, Miami-Dade police chaos that happened before the game. They come back, take down the Jags. Good win there. The Ravens slide down a couple of spots. From a teardrop perspective, clear top 4 again this week. Very clear. Ravens at number 5. A loss to the number 1 team. Maybe you don't panic. And on truly that much of a play. Either they were going to go for 2. Maybe they got it. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? Eagles at 4. They just jump up a spot here as the Ravens slide down a little bit. I think a good week from Philadelphia. The offense looked pretty good once they got through the weird turnover stuff at the beginning of the game. They can run the ball. They can throw it with more motion with Kellen Moore. They're going to be dangerous. Lions at number 3. That was a narrow win, but man, that final drive was impressive. They just ran it right down the throats of the Rams. Liked what I saw from Detroit. Not quite consensus at 2 and 1. There's one outlier, but pretty obvious ordering here. The Niners at number 2, and the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs at number 1. Until these teams lose a game, I wouldn't anticipate much change at the top of our power rankings, which will happen at some point, unless it's the year someone goes undefeated. So grade our power rankings. Again, if you don't like it, it was not my fault. It was the other voters. I had your team higher. I just got outvoted. If you like where it was because of me. So grade your power rankings, A, B, C, D, or F.